Good afternoon, people. It's good to be back. It's good to be back here on the channel. Today we've got a very informative, interesting video for you today. Today, I'd like to tell you about this guy right here. This is the one, the only ZZ plant. Not the only ZZ plant. I mean, there's a million of these out there for sale on the world. People always ask me, as a plant guy, what's something that's super easy to grow? I end up killing everything that I have. I ended up losing all the plants that I purchased that I spend my money on. What's something that is tolerable, that can handle some neglect? And there's a group of about, 8 or 10 plants, house plants that fit that category. Snake plants, pothoses, whatnot. But in my humble opinion, as a plant guy, one stands above them all. And that is this guy right here, the ZZ plant, as I've shown you before. The reason I choose this guy over pretty much any other house plant is the fact that they're just incredibly hardy. You can neglect these, you can forget to water them, you can put them in not the most ideal lighting conditions, and they'll be pretty much perfectly fine. Now, they're not going to exactly, thrive. They're not going to grow to their fullest absolute potential. But you can really neglect these guys and forget to water them for weeks to months on end. They will be totally fine. In fact, I had a coworker once, a friend of mine, who I was house sitting for her while she was on vacation, and she had all of these house plants throughout her house. She wanted me to come over once every other day or so to take care of her cat, water her plants, and she had a bunch of them, probably like 30, 40 plants, but she had a ZZ plant on top of her mantle. And when she was showing me this plant, she was like, yeah, I haven't watered that guy in like a few months. You can water him if you want, but you don't really have to, because he's fine. But I ended up watering him because it's been a while and he deserved it. But regardless, I think that just shows you how tough and hardy these guys can be. You can forget to water these for months, and you can put them in pretty dark, low light conditions, and they'll be totally fine. It gets the name ZZ plant from its botanical term, which I have written down here, which I'm totally going to butcher, by the way, but it is, let's see, Zemicoculus zemifolia. Guarantee I got that wrong. As you can see here, its structure, one of the things that people love about this plant most is just the way it looks. It's a very pretty plant, very tropical looking plant. Makes any room you put it in that much nicer. Now, it's not going to be the most, striking, houseplant you can get, like a monstera. It's not like a giant monstera. You walk into somebody's house, see one of those, and you're like, oh my god, that's insane. This isn't going to like catch people's eyes or nothing, but regardless, it's freaking beautiful. Now, there are two main types of ZZ plants you can get. You've got this guy right here, which is just the regular green one. And then you have the Raven ZZ plant. Now, the Raven ZZ plant is exactly the same as this. Same leaf structure, same look, same, design, same watering needs, lighting needs, everything. The absolute only difference is that it's like a dark purple. Now, get whichever one you want to get. Just depends on what color you want. For me, I got the green guy. I do want to get me a Raven ZZ plant at some point, but you can pretty much find them in almost every plant store, like any garden center, any big box store. I've even seen these at Walmart before, like in the garden section, so very common, fairly affordable as well. Next bit I got for you is the container you want to put these guys in. Now, just like with every house plant, you want to put them in a container with holes on the bottom. You have to let these guys drain. With the nature of any houseplant, this doesn't just go for ZZ plants, this goes for all houseplants. Because they're indoors, they do not drain, or they do not dry out as quick as a plant outside, because it's not experiencing sunlight, it's not experiencing wind. It doesn't drain as quick. So your container must have drainage holes. Now, when it comes to container size for these guys, don't be like me and put this into a container that's way too big for it. When I first got this particular ZZ plant, I was still fairly amateurish when it came to my plant taking care of life. And I decided, you know what, it needs the biggest possible space to grow. So this guy was in a container about this big, like literally this tall. And I put it into a container like this big. So I literally had like 7 inches of soil to grow into. Now, you'd think that'd be a good idea, but with the fact that, indoor soil doesn't drain well in general, it ended up getting way too wet. I ended up having gnat issues, bug issues. It was just, it was not great. But that also goes to show you how hardy these guys can truly be. It went through all of those bug issues, and to this day, he's fine. When it comes to container size, you generally, when you want to repot it, you want to put it in a container that the root ball is about an inch away from the edge of the container. So say I purchased this plant and it filled up this entire container. I would then, if I want to repot it, you might hear my dog in the background, by the way. If I wanted to repot this, I put it into a container that each side would be about an inch wider than the container it has before. Now that's a general rule when it comes to pretty much repotting any houseplant, but follow that for the ZZ plant. You should be perfectly fine when it comes to repotting. When it comes to the soil type, just get standard indoor well-draining potting mix. You can use cactus mix if you wanted to as well for even better drainage. You can make your own mix if you're a bit more advanced by buying regular, outdoor potting mix, mixing it with perlite and then cocoa bark, or not cocoa bark, orchid bark. That's it. And then you have a nice well-draining houseplant mix. But here I've got just standard Miracle Grow indoor potting mix. It does perfectly fine. It drains well. These ZZ plants are so hardy it doesn't need any particular fancy potting soil, so it does pretty well. When it comes to your watering needs for these guys, again, no big rule of thumb here. It can handle you forgetting it for a very long time and it'd be perfectly fine. Now, if you want it to thrive, good rule of thumb is just about once a week. Water it once a week, it'd be okay. It's another way to test the watering needs of your plant, and this goes for most houseplants. You stick your finger into the soil, about an inch, and if it feels dry all the way through, then you should probably water it. Now I feel some moisture in there because I watered this 2 days ago, so I don't need to water him. So follow those rules. You should have a perfectly fine, happy ZZ plant. Now the final thing when it comes to the ZZ plant is the lighting needs. Now, for most plants, most houseplants, you want what's called bright indirect light, which I know is a bit of a, oxymoron, but when it comes to these guys, they don't need anything particularly fancy. I got some plants that need to be right up against the window and maybe even need more light than that. But when it comes to these guys, you can put them right up against the window. You could put them in the middle of a room. You could put them 10 feet from the window and they will be perfectly fine. In my particular room, I have 2 windows on these 2 walls, and these 2 walls have no windows. I could put it in that corner and he'd be probably okay. If you want it to thrive, stick it right up against the window. There's no such thing as burning these guys. I mean, don't take them outside, but you can put it right up against the window and he'll probably thrive with that. But in general, you can leave these guys pretty much anywhere in the room you want, as long as they get some natural light. Now, don't be dumb and then put this thing into a room with no windows and it's just dark most of the time. Don't do that for really any plant at all. But with these guys, very lenient when it comes to that, just like everything. We'll take one more good look at this beautiful man's right here. Oh, some soil just fell out. But anyways, I think that's about it for this guy. Not super in-depth or not, super difficult needs for this guy, because he's just that. He's just him. He's hardy. You could neglect this guy. You can have, weeks on end with no watering if you're going on vacation or something, and he'd be totally good. So if you're new to plants, if you have never had a plant, or if you had a bunch of plants that you've killed because you're, busy or whatever, get a ZZ plant. They're everywhere, they're pretty, and they make any room look that much better. And you are likely never ever going to kill this guy. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for this new video. It's been a while, but life happens. I'll get back into this more often. But anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. ZZ plant. Look at him.